I still remember the way my brother looked at me that afternoon. We were standing in the living room of our childhood home. The same living room where we used to build forts out of couch cushions. The same corner where Mom used to sit with her knitting, humming old songs she learned from her own mother. But that day, nothing felt familiar anymore. He had his arms crossed. His jaw was tight. And when he finally spoke, his voice was cold in a way I had never heard before. "You never deserved this house," he said. "You know that, right?" I didn't say anything at first. I just stood there, holding the keys Mom had left me in her will. They felt heavier than they should have. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask him how we got here, how two people who grew up sharing everything could stand on opposite sides of a room that once held so much love. But I didn't do any of that. I just nodded slowly and put the keys down on the coffee table. Because somewhere deep inside, I knew this wasn't really about the house. It never was. This was about years of silence. Years of unspoken hurt. Years of feeling like we were never quite on the same page, even though we grew up in the same home, under the same roof, loved by the same mother. I don't know when it started. Maybe it was always there, hidden beneath birthday cakes and family dinners. Maybe it began the day Dad left and we both learned to survive in different ways. Or maybe it started the moment Mom got sick and we each handled our grief like strangers. All I know is this: the house didn't tear us apart. We were already broken long before the will was ever read. And that day, standing in the living room where we used to laugh, I realized I had lost more than an inheritance. I had lost my brother. Gentle woman. She had soft hands and a voice that could calm any storm. Even when life got hard, and it did get hard, she never raised her voice. She never blamed anyone. She just kept going, one day at a time, holding our little family together with nothing but love and stubbornness. I was the younger one. My brother, Daniel, was 3 years older. Growing up, he was my hero. He taught me how to ride a bike. He walked me to school on my first day when I was too scared to go alone. He shared his comic books with me, even the ones he said were too advanced for a kid my age. We weren't rich. Dad worked at a factory until the accident. After that, he couldn't work anymore. And somewhere in all that pain and frustration, he just left. I was 8. Daniel was 11. Mom never spoke badly about him. She just worked 2 jobs and made sure we had what we needed. We didn't have fancy things, but we had each other. And we had the house. It was a small house. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a narrow kitchen with yellow tiles that Mom always said she'd replace someday. There was a backyard with a lemon tree that never grew lemons, and a front porch where we'd sit on summer nights, listening to the neighborhood kids play down the street. That house was everything to us. Daniel moved out when he turned 22. He got a job in the city, met a woman named Claire, and started building his own life. I stayed longer. I went to community college nearby and still lived at home. It just made sense. Mom was getting older, and I didn't mind being there. I helped with groceries. I fixed things around the house when they broke. I kept her company in the evenings when the silence got too loud. He visited, of course, but not as often as he used to. Life got busy. Claire didn't really like coming to our neighborhood. They had their own plans, their own problems. I understood. I didn't hold it against him. Mom never complained either. She'd just smile whenever he called and say, "He's living his life." That's what matters. But I could see it in her eyes sometimes, the sadness of being forgotten, even just a little. When Mom got sick, everything changed. It started with small things. She'd forget where she put her glasses. She'd repeat the same story twice in one conversation. At first, we laughed it off. But then it got worse. The doctor said it was dementia. Early stages, but it would progress. There was no cure. Just time. I quit my job to take care of her full-time. It wasn't a hard decision. She had spent her whole life taking care of us. Now it was my turn. Daniel helped financially. He sent money every month. He'd call and ask how she was doing. But he didn't visit much. Claire was pregnant with their first child. They were busy preparing for that. I didn't blame him. I really didn't. But I was alone in it. The daily routine. The doctor's appointments. The nights when she didn't recognize me and called me by her sister's name. The mornings when she cried because she couldn't remember where she was. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'd do it all over again. Mom passed away on a quiet Tuesday morning in April. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. And she slipped away in her sleep, holding my hand. Daniel came for the funeral. He cried. We both did. We hugged, and for a moment, it felt like we were kids again, two broken people leaning on each other, because that's all we had. But that feeling didn't last long. After the funeral, the lawyer called. Mom had left a will. It was simple, handwritten, notarized years ago when she was still sharp and healthy. She left the house to me. There was a savings account, small, but something, that she split between the two of us. Daniel got half. I got half. That part was fair and equal. But the house? She left it to me. Only me. The lawyer said she had written a note with the will. It wasn't long. Just a few lines. I'm leaving the house to my youngest because they stayed. They gave up so much to be here with me when I needed it most. I know this might be hard to understand, but I hope one day you both can forgive me. I love you both equally. But love isn't always split down the middle. I read that note 100 times. And every time, my heart broke a little more. Because I knew what was coming. Daniel didn't call me right away. For 3 days after the lawyer read the will, there was nothing. No text. No voicemail. Just silence. I thought maybe he needed time to process it. I thought maybe he understood. After all, he knew I had been the one taking care of Mom. He knew I had put my life on hold. He had even thanked me for it once, over the phone, late at night when Mom had a bad episode and I called him crying. But silence has a way of turning into something else. On the 4th day, he showed up at the house. I was in the kitchen, packing up some of Mom's things. Her aprons. Her recipe cards. Little pieces of her that I wasn't ready to let go of yet. I heard the front door open. I didn't lock it anymore. It didn't feel right, locking the door to a house that had always been open. Daniel? I called out. He didn't answer. He just walked into the kitchen and stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, looking at me like I was a stranger. Hey, I said softly. I wasn't expecting you. I know, he said. His voice was flat. Distant. His voice was flat. Distant. I put down the apron I was holding and wiped my hands on my jeans. Do you want some coffee? I just made a pot. He shook his head. I'm not here for coffee. Something in his tone made my stomach drop. Okay, I said carefully. What's going on? He looked around the kitchen. At the yellow tiles. At the table where we used to do homework. At the window where Mom used to stand and watch the birds. This doesn't seem fair, he said finally. I blinked. What doesn't? This. He gestured around the room. The house. All of it. She left it to you. Just you. I felt my throat tighten. Daniel, she explained why. You read the note. Yeah, I read it. His voice got a little louder. Not yelling, but sharper. I read that she thought you deserved it more because you stayed. That's not what she said. That's exactly what she said. He cut me off. She said you gave up so much. Like I didn't give up anything. Like I didn't help. You did help, I said quickly. You sent money. You called. I never said you didn't. But it wasn't enough, was it? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. I wasn't here every day, so I don't get the house. I don't get the place we grew up in. I don't get anything except half of a savings account that wouldn't even cover a down payment anywhere else. I didn't know what to say. My chest felt tight. My hands were shaking. I didn't know what to say. My chest felt tight. My hands were shaking. I didn't ask for this, I said quietly. I didn't ask her to leave it to me. But you took it, he shot back. You didn't refuse it. You didn't say, hey, maybe we should split this. You just took it. Because it's what she wanted. My voice cracked. She wrote it down, Daniel. She made the decision. Not me. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he shook his head and looked away. For a long moment. Then he shook his head and looked away. You always did this, he muttered. Did what? Made yourself the victim. The martyr. Poor you, staying home with Mom while I went off and built a life. Like I abandoned you both. I never said that. You didn't have to. His eyes were hard now. Cold. You just let everyone think it. Let Mom think it. And now here we are. I felt tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not yet. I stayed because I wanted to, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Because I loved her. Not because I wanted something in return. Well, you got something anyway, didn't you? The words hit me like a slap. I opened my mouth to respond, but nothing came out. What could I say? What could I possibly say that would make him understand? He turned to leave, then stopped in the doorway. I'm going to talk to a lawyer, he said without looking back. See if there's anything I can do. This isn't over. And then he was gone. I stood there in the kitchen, surrounded by Mom's things, and finally let myself cry. Over the next few weeks, things got worse. Daniel's lawyer sent a letter. It was formal and cold, full of legal language I didn't fully understand. But the message was clear. He was contesting the will. He believed he had a right to the house, or at least half of it. I hired a lawyer too. I didn't want to. It felt wrong, fighting my own brother in court over our mother's house. But I didn't know what else to do. The lawyer told me I had a strong case. The will was clear. It was notarized. Mom was of sound mind when she wrote it. This was years before the dementia started. But that didn't make it easier. Daniel stopped answering my calls. When I texted him, he either ignored me or responded with one-word answers. She was polite, but distant. She said Daniel was hurt. That he felt like I had taken advantage of the situation. That he felt like I had manipulated Mom. I told her that wasn't true. I told her I loved my brother. I told her I never wanted any of this. She listened. Then she said, I believe you. But he doesn't. And that was it. The house felt emptier than ever. I walked through the rooms at night, remembering all the moments we had shared here as a family. The laughter. The arguments. The quiet nights when it was just the three of us against the world. Now it was just me. And I couldn't help but wonder, was it worth it? The court date was set for a Thursday in June. I didn't sleep the night before. I just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house creak and settle the way it always had. Every sound felt louder in the silence. I kept thinking about Daniel. About us as kids. About the time he punched a boy at school who had made fun of my shoes. About the night Dad left, when he crawled into my bed and told me everything would be okay, even though neither of us believed it. Where did that brother go? When did we become strangers? The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Cold. Impersonal. Daniel sat on one side with his lawyer, a sharp woman in a gray suit. I sat on the other side with mine, a kind older man who had promised me this would be straightforward. But nothing about this felt straightforward. Daniel didn't look at me. Not once. He kept his eyes forward, his jaw tight, his hands folded on the table in front of him. I wanted to walk over to him. I wanted to say, please. Let's just talk. Let's figure this out like family. Because I knew he wouldn't listen. The hearing began. Daniel's lawyer spoke first. She talked about fairness. About how both children should be treated equally. About how my brother had contributed financially and emotionally, even if he wasn't physically present every day. She made it sound like I had stolen something that wasn't mine. Then my lawyer spoke. He presented the will. He presented the note. He talked about how clear Mom's intentions were. How she had every right to leave her property to whomever she chose. He made it sound like Daniel was being greedy. Neither version felt true. The judge asked a few questions. She was calm, professional. She looked tired, like she had seen 100 cases like this and knew how they all ended. Then she asked if either of us wanted to speak. My lawyer shook his head at me, a silent warning. Don't say anything. Let the documents do the talking. But I couldn't help it. Can I say something? I asked quietly. The judge nodded. Go ahead. I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone in the room could hear it. I looked at Daniel. He still wouldn't meet my eyes. I don't want to fight, I said. My voice cracked. I never wanted this. I never wanted to be standing here, in a courtroom, fighting my own brother over a house that was supposed to be filled with love. I paused, trying to steady my breathing. Mom left me the house. Because I was there, I continued. Not because I was better. Not because I was her favorite. But because I stayed. And I know that's not fair. I know Daniel had his own life, his own responsibilities. I know he helped in the ways he could. I looked down at my hands. So know what it cost me to stay. I gave up my job. I gave up relationships. I gave up years of my life to take care of her when she didn't even remember who I was anymore. And I did it because I loved her. Not because I wanted this house. My voice broke completely now. If I could go back and split everything down the middle, I would. If I could go back and have Mom write a different will, I would. But I can't. And fighting over it now won't bring her back. It won't change anything. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. I just want my brother back. The room was silent. The judge looked at Daniel. Would you like to respond? For the first time, Daniel looked at me. His eyes were red. His face was tight, like he was holding back everything he wanted to say. He stood up slowly. I don't think you understand, he said, his voice low and shaking. I don't think you understand what it felt like to be me. I stayed quiet. I just listened. I was the older one, he continued. I was supposed to take care of the family. After Dad left, I thought that was my job. And I tried. I worked. I sent money. I called. I did what I thought was right. His voice got louder. His voice got louder. But it was never enough. No matter what I did, I was always the one who left. The one who wasn't there. And when Mom got sick, I couldn't just drop everything. I had a wife. A baby on the way. Bills to pay. I couldn't just move back home and pretend like my life didn't matter. He looked at me with so much pain in his eyes. And then she dies. And she leaves you everything. Like everything I did meant nothing. Like I was nothing. Tears were streaming down his face now. I don't care about the house, he said, his voice breaking. I care that she didn't think I was enough. That you don't think I was enough. I felt my heart shatter. Finally understood. This wasn't about the house. It was never about the house. It was about a boy who lost his father and tried to be the man of the family. A boy who grew up too fast and carried a weight no child should carry. A boy who thought he failed because he couldn't be in two places at once. Daniel, I whispered. You were always enough. He shook his head. Then why didn't she leave it to both of us? Because she knew I didn't have anywhere else to go, I said softly. And she knew you did. She wasn't punishing you. She was protecting me. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he sat down and put his head in his hands. The judge cleared her throat gently. I'm going to take a recess, she said. I think you two need to talk. We sat in a small room down the hall from the courtroom. Just the two of us. No lawyers. No judge. Just two siblings who had forgotten how to talk to each other. Daniel sat on one side of the table, his hands folded in front of him. I sat on the other side, trying to find the right words. But every time I opened my mouth, nothing came out. The silence stretched between us like an ocean. Finally, he spoke first. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I looked up surprised. I'm sorry for what I said, he continued. About you not deserving the house. About you being a martyr. I didn't mean it. I was just angry. I know, I said softly. I've been angry for a long time, he admitted. And I didn't even realize it until now. He rubbed his face with both hands, exhausted. When Dad left, I thought it was my fault somehow, he said. Like if I had been better, stronger, maybe he would have stayed. So I tried to be the man of the house. I tried to take care of you and Mom. But I was just a kid. I didn't know what I was doing. I felt tears welling up again. Then enough, I told him. You were 11 years old, Daniel. You weren't supposed to carry all of that. But I wanted to, he said, his voice breaking. I wanted to be the one who fixed everything. And when I couldn't, when I had to leave and build my own life, I felt like I was abandoning you both all over again. Just like Dad did. You're nothing like Dad, I said firmly. Nothing. He looked at me with so much pain in his eyes. Then why does it feel like I failed? Because you loved us, I said. And love makes us feel responsible for things we can't control. He was quiet for a moment, letting those words sink in. When Mom got sick, he said slowly, I wanted to come back. I wanted to be there every day, like you were. But Claire was struggling with the pregnancy. We were barely making rent. I felt trapped between two worlds, and I couldn't be enough for either one. You called, I reminded him gently. You sent money. You cared. That mattered. But it wasn't the same as being there. No, I agreed. It wasn't. But that doesn't mean it didn't matter. He looked down at his hands. I used to lie awake at night, he confessed, thinking about Mom in that house, getting worse, and you taking care of her all by yourself. And I hated myself for not being there. But I also resented you for making it look so easy. It wasn't easy, I said, my voice shaking. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. There were nights I cried myself to sleep because I didn't know if I was strong enough. There were days I wanted to run away because watching her fade was too painful. I wiped my eyes. But I didn't tell you that, I continued. I didn't want you to feel guilty. I didn't want you to think you had to choose between your family and us. So I just kept going. And I made it seem like I had everything under control. Maybe, I admitted. But I was trying to protect you. The same way you were trying to protect us when you were 11. We sat in silence again, but this time it felt different. Softer. Like something between us was finally starting to heal. I don't want the house, Daniel said suddenly. I looked at him confused. I mean it, he said. I don't want to fight you for it. I don't want to take it to court. I don't want to spend the next year of our lives arguing over something that's already breaking us apart. Daniel. Let me finish, he said gently. I was angry about the will because I thought it meant Mom loved you more. But that's not what it meant. I see that now. He took a deep breath. She left you the house because you needed it, he said. And she left me the freedom to live my own life without feeling like I had to take care of everything. That was her gift to me. I just couldn't see it until now. My throat felt tight. I can't just take the house, I said. Not like this. Not when it's hurting you. You're not taking it, he said. Mom gave it to you. There's a difference. But what if we shared it? I suggested. What if we kept it in the family? For both of us. He shook his head slowly. You need a place to live, he said. I have a home with Claire and the baby. This house was always more yours than mine anyway. Even when we were kids, you were the one who loved it. You were the one who stayed. That doesn't seem fair. Maybe not, he said. But life isn't always fair. And I'd rather have my sister back than fight over a house. I started crying then. Not sad tears. Not angry tears. Just tears of relief and exhaustion and grief for all the time we had wasted being angry at each other. Daniel stood up and walked around the table. He pulled me into a hug, and I held on to him like I was drowning. I'm sorry, I whispered into his shoulder. I'm sorry for everything. Me too, he said. A long time, just holding each other, two broken people trying to find their way back to being family again. When we finally pulled apart, he smiled at me. It was a sad smile, but it was real. Mom would have hated this, he said. Us fighting like this. She really would have, I agreed, laughing through my tears. She would have made us sit down at that kitchen table and talk it out over tea. And she wouldn't have let us leave until we hugged it out. Exactly. We walked back to the courtroom together. Daniel told his lawyer he was dropping the case. The judge looked relieved. She said something about family being more important than property, and I could tell she meant it. Afterwards, we stood outside the courthouse in the summer sun. Do you want to come over? I asked carefully. See the house? Maybe have some coffee. He hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, he said. I'd like that. We drove separately, but when we both pulled up to the house, it felt like coming home. Not to a place, but to each other. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where we used to do homework as kids. I made coffee in Mom's old pot, the one that always made the brew a little too strong. Daniel didn't complain. He just wrapped his hands around the mug and stared out the window at the backyard. The lemon tree was still there. Still not growing lemons. Remember when we tried to build a treehouse out there, he said, a small smile on his face. We got about 3 boards up before the whole thing collapsed, I said, laughing softly. Dad was so mad. He said we wasted perfectly good wood. Mom defended us, I remembered. She said we were learning. She always did that, Daniel said quietly. Found the good in everything. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, just sipping our coffee and letting the memories wash over us. House, I said finally. But I want you to know it's your home too. Whenever you need it. You, Claire, the baby. You're always welcome here. He nodded slowly. Thank you. That means a lot. And I want to put some pictures up, I continued. Of all of us. Mom, Yumi, even Dad. I want this place to remember who we were before everything got so complicated. I'd like that, he said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. A photograph, old and creased from being folded too many times. I found this in my wallet the other day, he said, sliding it across the table to me. I picked it up carefully. It was a picture of the four of us. Mom, Dad, Daniel, and me. We were standing in front of this very house. I couldn't have been more than 5. Daniel was maybe 8. We were all smiling. Dad had his arm around Mom. We looked like a normal, happy family. I forgot this picture existed, I whispered. I've been carrying it for years, Daniel said. I don't even know why. Maybe to remind myself of when things were simple. When we were just a family. I stared at the photo, at the little girl I used to be, holding her big brother's hand. Can I keep this? I asked. It's yours, he said. Just like the house. Just like all the memories. I felt tears threatening again, but this time they felt different. Lighter. Like I was finally letting go of something heavy I'd been carrying for too long. I missed you, I said. I missed my brother. I missed you too, he said. And I'm sorry it took us this long to figure it out. We're here now, I said. That's what matters. He finished his coffee and stood up. I should get going. Claire's waiting. But I'll come back soon. I promise. Next time, I said. I want to meet her. I will, he said, smiling. She's going to love this place. Just like we did. I walked him to the door. Before he left, he pulled me into another hug. Thank you, he whispered. For not giving up on me. You're my brother, I said simply. I could never give up on you. He left, and I stood on the porch, watching his car pull away until it disappeared down the street. The house was quiet again. But this time, the quiet didn't feel lonely. I walked back inside and looked around. At the yellow tiles Mom always wanted to replace. At the photographs on the walls. At the furniture that had seen decades of life and love and loss. This house had witnessed everything. Our childhood. Our heartbreak. Our grief. And now, our healing. Mom was gone. But she was still here, in every corner, every memory, every lesson she had tried to teach us. And maybe that's what she wanted all along. Not for us to fight over what she left behind, but to learn what really mattered. Family isn't about who gets what. It's not about being fair or equal or splitting things down the middle. It's about showing up. It's about forgiveness. It's about holding on even when it's hard. And sometimes, it's about letting go of the things that don't matter so you can hold on to the things that do. I sat down in Mom's chair by the window, the one where she used to knit and hum her old songs. And for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. The house was mine. But more importantly, my brother was back. And that was worth more than any inheritance could ever be. Thank you for listening to this story. I'm curious, what would you have done in this situation? Would you have fought for the house, or let it go to save the relationship? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing your perspectives on these real-life struggles. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more emotional family stories. Your support means everything. Until next time, take care.